Hello, this is Dr. Mears. Today we're going to be writing an equation in standard form. This is the video. You should have the sheet that says video on it in bold, underlined 14 font. What we're going to be doing today is reading through this situation together and just going through the steps. Now remember, you don't have to do all the word problems like this. I'm just trying to give you some tools on how to think through our word problems that we see in our algebra class. So I've actually given you many different tools. So again, this is just a way to read through it, organize your information with our algebra problems. So here we go. Your school is sponsoring a pancake dinner to raise money for a field trip. You estimate that 200 adults and 250 children will attend. Let X represent the cost of an adult ticket and Y represent the cost of a child's ticket. Your school needs to raise $3,800. Part A. Read, reread, and annotate RRA, the above situation. Now, we've been doing this a lot, so I'm going to do a couple of different things. I'm going to introduce to you my box that I like to use around certain things or certain words. So first, let's read through this again. Your school is sponsoring a pancake dinner to raise money for a field trip. You estimate that 200 adults, I'm going to underline that, and 250 children, underline that, will attend. Let X represent the cost of an adult ticket and Y represent the cost of a child ticket. Your school needs to raise $3,800. So I'm going to put a box, and this is what I was talking about, around what X represents, because that's our X variable. And I'm going to put that, our X variable, that's what it represents. And I'm going to put a box around the Y, and this is our Y variable, that's what Y represents. So Y represents the cost of a child's ticket, X represents the cost of an adult ticket. And then I'm going to go back up here because I see that we have adults here. We know that 200 adults are going to be going. So I'm actually going to write 200, X is adult, X. And I'm going to write 250, and I'm going to realize that this is children. I'm going to go back down here. This is child, and that's my Y. So I'm going to write those in up there because I bet you that's going to help. Then I'm going to come back over here, and we need to raise $3,800. So that's probably what it's going to be equal to. So I'm going to put a little equal sign underneath there. So I read, reread, and annotated the above situation. Check. Part B, write an equation in standard form. Now remember, standard form is AX plus BY equals C, where A, B, and C are going to be our real numbers. So I'm going to go back. We have A times X. So this is going to be our 200X. 200 adults coming, and that's the X is the cost of an adult. So we have 200X plus, because I am adding in the children, there's going to be 250 children, and that's going to equal what we need to raise, 3,800. So this is my equation written in standard form from my word problem. Part B. If a adult ticket costs $12, how much should we charge for a child's ticket? So I'm going to read, reread, and annotate this actually as well. If an adult ticket, so adult is going to be our X variable, costs $12, how much should we charge for a child ticket? And remember, child was the Y variable. So please notice how I'm putting my variables here. So this is really X equaling 12, and we need to find what Y is going to equal. So we're going to use our equation, 200X plus 250Y equals 3,800. We're going to get out our calculators. And what we're going to do is, it actually tells us where I annotated. X is 12, so we're going to substitute our 12 in, plus 250Y equals 3,800. And we need to find what this Y value is, and that's what I'm asking. They're asking for us here. So we have to do a little bit of our algebra. First, we need to multiply these two numbers. So we're going to do 200 times 12. That's going to give us 2,400. I'm going to rewrite everything. Now this is 3,800. I need to move my 2,400 over, so I'm going to subtract it, doing my inverse operation. Originally it was positive here, so I'm going to subtract it and subtract it. Cancels it out. Rewrite my 250y. Subtract these in my calculator. I get 1,400. And then I'm going to divide by 250 so that I can solve for y. So y equals 1,400, division symbol, 250, 5.6. Now, let's go back to the question. It said, how much should we charge? And so charge, we're going to be charging money. So if we look down here, this is 5.6. So we should charge, and we're not going to write 5.6. We're going to write 5.60 because that's really $5.60 for a child's, that's what we're looking for, ticket. And that's how you do Part C. Okay, next. Part D. Find the X-intercept. What does this represent? Now remember, when we're finding the X-intercept, we're going to write down the original equation, which was this. So we're going to write down 200x plus 250y equals 3,800. And when we find our, I'm going to put a box around it, X-intercept, that's when y equals 0, remember. Remember, if we're looking for x, our y is 0. So I'm going to write down my ordered pair. I know my y value will be 0, so I'm going to look for my x. So I come up here. If I input the 0 for my y, it will cross this out because any number times 0 will give you 0. Therefore, what I have left is 200x, because that's what I'm looking for, equals 3,800. I'm going to do some algebra to divide by 200. My x is going to equal 3,800 divided by 200 is 19. Cross out the zeros, we have 19 left. So x is 19, we got 19. So here's my X-intercept. So what does this represent? Well, what we have to remember is what our variables represent. Our X variable, if we go back up here, I actually put a box around it. And that's why I put a box and not an underline, because I want to go back to it. So put that box, if you haven't, put that box around what the variables represent. X represent the cost of an adult ticket. So I'm going to go down here. So X is the cost of an adult ticket. Then I'm going to go back up. I'm looking for my Y. My Y variable represents the cost of a child's ticket. So I'm going to go here, cost of child ticket. And so this is going to help me write my complete sentence using communication in order to be able to answer the question for what it represents, tell you what it represents. So my sentence is going to start with the cost of an adult ticket is $19 when, and I got the 19 from here, cost of an adult ticket is $19 when the cost of a child's ticket is $0. So when children are free, adults are going to have to pay $19. I love that sentence, so let's write it. When children tickets are free, adults will pay $19 per ticket. I love that because that's where your interpretation comes from. That's going to get you your 8 out of 8 on a formative or a summative or even your final coming up is really interpreting it, going that one extra step. And this is that one extra step in understanding. So this is my answer for part D. I'm sorry, the table keeps shaking. Move it over a little bit. For part D, and let's go on to the last part, or the last two parts. The last, second to last part, part E, says find the Y-intercept. What does this represent? So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go back and we're going to write down our original equation. 200x plus 250y equals 3,800. We're going to put a box around the Y-intercept because that means that x is going to be 0 now. Down here, I'm going to put a little xy. My x is 0, so I know I'm going to be finding my y, which means when my x is 0 and I input 0, any number times 0 is 0, so I just can cross that out. I get 250y equals 3,800. Now my algebra, divide by 250. Y is going to equal 3,800 divided by 250, and that gives me 15.2. So this is 15.2. And now what I have to do is say what it represents. So if I go back to my box here that you should have put a box around, X represents the cost of an adult's ticket. So let's label this. So this is the cost of an adult ticket. And let's remember, Y is the cost of a child's ticket. Now that I labeled those, I can actually write my sentences. And I have to remember, this is a cost. So this number is not going to be 15.2. I'm going to put in that 0 here when I write my sentence. And you could put the 0 in here, and you could have put 0.20 here if you wanted as well. Either way, but when you're writing your sentence, remember, it is the cost, so it is in dollars. So let's write our sentence. Let's say, when the cost of an adult ticket is $0, the child ticket will be $15.20. Now again, taking it further, really interpreting what that means. It means when adults are free, when adult tickets are free. A child will pay $15.20 per ticket. There we go. So that is part E. Our second to that was our second to last part. Now on to our last part. Our last part is to graph the equation using our intercepts. So what we need to do is we need to go back to part D, and we need to look at our intercept. So it's this right here. This is what we're going to write down. And I'm going to write it over here. I'm going to write X-intercept. I'm going to write down the point, 19, 0. Then I'm going to write down Y-intercept. And you know I always label everything. And that's just a good habit of mine to get into, is labeling. I'm going to put that 0. You don't have to, because we're talking about cost, but we're not interpreting it. We're graphing it now. I'm going to label my X. I'm going to label my Y. And you can even put child here. C-H-I-L-D, and adult. And I need some numbers. We have to go to 19 and 15.2. So if I counted by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I only go to 7 here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So counting by ones might not be my best bet. I'm wondering if I should count maybe by threes. 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. I do have to go to 19 though. So maybe 4s. Let's do that. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So my y-intercept will be here, right next to 20. Now remember, this is not going to come out perfect. We were doing slope-intercept form and we had this perfect slope. If I had 19 lines, it could be perfect, but even we're going 15.2, so we really are estimating here. So this is more of a sketch of the equation rather than drawing it perfectly. So we're going to just call this a sketch. Over here, this is -4, -8. I'm not going to bother to write anymore because we are in the negatives and we're not going to have negatives. And down here would be -4, oops, sorry, -8 and -4. But again, I'm not going to go on because it is just going to stay in this positive. All right, I did my x-intercept, now my y-intercept. I'm going to do 4s again, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. I'm going to graph 0, 15.2, so that's going to be very close to 16 here. Again, it's not going to be perfect. I'm going to take out my trusty old ruler, if I can find it. Here it is. And I'm going to connect these two with a nice, strong line. Throw some arrows on that. And here we go. So this is a sketch of the graph of the equation using the x and y intercepts. Again, it's not perfect because it is just a sketch. I counted by 4s. I couldn't get to exactly 15.2. If we did want a perfect sketch, we would probably use Desmos, the online graphing calculator, which we will do. But for now, I do want you to sketch it out, and this is how we do it. This has been Writing an Equation in Standard Form. It's Dr. Mears. I hope it helped. Thank you.